Chapter 5 His Grace of Andover Part 1 of Black Moth by Georgette Heyer Read for LibriVox.org into the public domain. Lady Lavinia dressed herself with even more than her usual care next afternoon, and well nigh drove her maid distracted by her flashes of temper and impatient, contradictory orders. So lengthy was the toilette that she was only just in her boudoir when His Grace of Andover was announced. She had no time to tell the footman that she would receive his Grace, for almost before the words were out of James's mouth, he stood bowing in the doorway, sure of his welcome. He was curiously like his sister, this man, and at the same time curiously unlike. Hers were the high cheekbones and pinched, aristocratic nostrils, but the mouth, with its thin lips, and the heavy-lidded green eyes, were totally different. His Grace's brows slanted up at the corners, and his eyes, though piercing and bright, were constantly veiled by the black lashed lids. He wore his own black hair, unpowdered, and that, together with the black and silver garments that he always affected, greatly enhanced the natural pallor of his countenance. Altogether it was a very striking figure that stood just before the closed white door and bowed to my lady. Lavinia took an eager step towards him, swinging her pearl-grey brocades. "Oh, Tracy!" she cooed, holding out both hands. His Grace advanced into the room and bent low over them. "I rejoice to find you within, Lavinia," he said, a faint tinge of sarcasm running through his smooth tones. "As you perceive, I rode over." He made a gesture towards his high boots with their wicked-looking spurs. "No doubt Andrew forgot to give you my letter?" "No," she said, slipping her hand in his arm. "He remembered it in time, and oh, Tracy, I was so vastly delighted to have it!" "I am indeed honoured," he replied. "I am come on a sufficiently important matter." "Oh!" she pulled her hand away disappointedly. "Money." "You are really wonderful, my dear. As you so crudely remark, money. Will you not be seated?" She sank down on the couch dejectedly, and watched him take a chair opposite her. "Your most noble lord and master lent me a trifling sum the other day, but very trifling. I am as usual hard pressed, and that young fool Andrew must needs fall into debt." My lady opened her eyes wide in surprise. "Do you tell me you need money from Richard to pay Andrew's debts?" she asked, frankly incredulous. "I do not. Is it likely?" The remark was purely by the way. "Well, in any case, Andrew borrowed 3,000 from poor Dick only yesterday. I know, because I heard him speak of it." His Grace raised his black brows in patient exasperation. "How unnecessary of Andrew, and how typical! So poor Dick has been squeezed already?" "Don't speak like that, Tracy," she cried. "Dicky is good to me." She met his piercing look unflinchingly. "Now this becomes interesting," drawled the Duke. "Since when have you come to that conclusion? And why this sudden loyalty?" "I've always been loyal to him, Tracy. You know I have. I worry him, and indeed he is very forbearing." "But how charming of him!" "No, do not sneer, Tracy. He has promised to take me to London for the whole winter." His Grace leant back in his chair again. "Now I understand," he said, placidly. "I was at a loss before." "'Tis not that, Tracy. Indeed, I realise how kind he is to me, and we have quarrelled again. We are always quarrelling, and I know 'tis all my fault." "What a comfortable conviction, my dear!" "No, no, 'tis not comfortable, Tracy. For somehow I cannot change my disposition, although I mean to be patient and sweet. Tracy, I hate Wincham." "You hate Wincham? There was a time—" "I know, but I never meant to live here always like this. I want to go to London." "I thought you said you were going." "Yes, I am. But I want to go with someone who is gay, not—" "In fact, you want distraction, and not with the amiable Richard. Well, I can conceive that life with him might prove uninspiring. Safe, my dear, but not exciting." "I knew you would understand. You see, he does not like me to play at cards, because I cannot stop, and he cannot see how 'tis that I care not for what he calls home life, when there are routs, and the play, and real life. He is so staid, Tracy, and careful." "A good trait in a husband, Lavinia," replied his Grace cynically. "'Tis because I do not possess it that I am single now." Her lips curled scornfully at this, for well she knew her brother. "No, Tracy, that is not so. It is because you are a devil. No woman would marry you." "That is most interesting, my dear," purred his Grace. "But pray strive to be a little more original. Continue your analysis of Richard's sterling character." "'Tis only that we are so different," she sighed. I always desire to do things quickly. If I think of something, I want it at once, at once. You know, Tracy. And he likes to wait and think on it, and oh, 'tis so tiresome, and puts me in a bad humour, and I behave like a hysterical bourgeoisie." She got up swiftly, clasping her little nervous hands. "When he speaks to me in that gentle, reasoning way, I could scream, Tracy. Do you think I am mad?" She laughed unmusically. "No," he replied, "but the next thing to it, a Belmanoir. Perhaps it was a pity you ever married Richard. But there is always the money." "There is not!" she cried out sharply. "Not! What mean you?" "Tracy, 'tis of this that I wanted to speak. You think my lord left his money to Dick?" "Certainly. He should be stupendously wealthy." "He is not." "But, my good girl, the revenues must be enormous. He has the land, surely." "No, no, he has not the land. Oh, but I am angry whenever I think on it. He induced my lord to leave it to John. He has but his younger son's portion." "I still fail to understand. You informed me that the Earl left all to Richard?" "He changed his will, Tracy." "He changed his will? Then, my dear, you must have played your cards very badly." "'Twas not my fault, Tracy, indeed 'twas not. I knew not till the will was read. Richard never spoke a word to me about it. And now we are comparatively poor." Her voice trembled with indignation, but his Grace only whistled beneath his breath. "I always knew, of course, that Dick was a fool, but I never guessed how much so till now." At that she flared up. "He is not a fool. He is an honest man, and 'tis we, I tell you, who are mean and despicable and mercenary." "Undoubtedly, Lavinia. But pray do not excite yourself over it. I suppose he is still devoted to that young hothead?" "Yes, yes. 'Tis all Jack, 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 until I'm sick to death of the sound of his name, and—" She broke off, biting her lip. "And what?" "Oh, naught, but 'tis all so disagreeable, Tracy." "It certainly is slightly disturbing. You had better have chosen John, in spite of it all, it seems." She stamped angrily. "Oh, where's the good in being flippant?" "My dear Lavinia, where's the good in being anything else? The situation strikes me as rather amusing. To think of the worthy Richard so neatly overturning all my plans!" "If it had not been for you I might never have married him. Why did you throw them both in my way? Why did I ever set eyes on either?" "It should have been a good match, my dear, and if I remember rightly, no one was more alive to that fact than yourself." She pouted angrily, and turned her shoulder to him. Chapter 5